Hi viewers and welcome to the channel, and today we're going to be looking at the Lattice2 workbench again and how to create holes like this that are tangent to the surface of this object. Now this is the same as placing something on that surface as well, so rather than circles, for instance, we could have cylinders that are tangent to there, like so. We're going to be using a couple of workbenches, so we're going to be using Sketcher and Lattice2. And you can see how those sketches are on there, allowing for these holes to actually be placed at an angle across here. So I can change the angle of this and have these holes at different angles going across this surface. So let's have a look at this technique. If you like what you're seeing, please subscribe to the site. I also have a Ko-Fi or a coffee site that you can donate to if you so desire, and that's at ko-fi.com/MANG0. I also run a Patreon where you can subscribe and get extra content, and that's at www.patreon.com/MangoJellySolutions. Any money that's kindly donated will be used to expand the channel. So this time we've opened up FreeCAD, we've gone into the Sketcher workbench. Also got the Lattice2 workbench installed. We can install that from the Tools Add-on Manager, and we can install it from there. So within the Sketcher we create a new sketch, and we're going to go along the XY plane. Now the good thing about the Lattice2, there's a number of tools to actually allow for placement. There's one of my favorite tools in there, and if we remember back to the previous video I did with the placement in the part design using the lattice pattern, we created a sketch for placements. There is another way of doing this which is far more flexible when you're using something like the part workbench, the curves workbench, or any of the other workbenches. It can be used for booleans, cuts, etc. As a standard lattice placement. So I'm going to start off with a sketch, and I'm going to make a number of lines like so. And you notice how I'm working from inside out, and hit close. So we've got this sketch. If I come over to the Lattice2, select that sketch, we've got this icon over here, which is also available from Lattice2 and Lattice Placement. All these four ones down the bottom here are the same. They're the same tool. It just puts it in a different mode, which we can change later anyway. So I can select any one of these. I'm going to select the placement of shape, copy object placement. We get our kite, our usual kite for Lattice2. We get this placement of sketch here. If we look at this, we've got a number of options, and we go down, work our way down, and we get to this compound traversal using this hole. So this is actually connected to that sketch, and we can find that there, shape link sketch. If we change this, what we need to do is keep an eye on the number of elements. So when I change this to direct children only and click off, notice the number of elements has changed to 4. So there's 4 elements in here. Come down again to the object mode. We've got this at the moment on child. Let's change this to child edge and click another field or click off. You notice they have started to split. So we've got a number of placement objects, 4 of them, that are pointing in different directions. But they're not aligned with these as of yet. One last field in here called translate mode. Drop this down, at the moment it's child, and we'll place this child dot vertex. Let's place it along those vertexes. So we can add elements to this and use them in Boolean operations. Look at the placement of sketch and look down at the translate element index, this one here. Let's place it at 0 at the moment. If I set this to 1, it will change the vertex on there. So this can actually go up to 2 because there's 2 vertices on here. But if I start changing this to say 3, then we get list index out of range or out of bounds here. So we've got 2 vertices there. Got vertex 1 and vertex 2 there. So 2. So this one and this one. So we can place those at those points. Now, applications for this use. Now, if you think of something like if you had a regular surface or a curved surface, then we can actually align, say, holes or elements along there and have them tangent to that surface. It's not just sketches that this works upon. It can work on anything that has some kind of edge. So to get, say, a cylinder across here, we'll come over to the part and we'll add a cylinder. That's a bit small at the moment, so let's change the radius to 5, the height to 45, and we've got that one there. And we click the cylinder. Well, we need to be over to the Lattice2 to actually do this, so Lattice2. And we click the cylinder, control click the placement of sketch, and come up to Lattice2, come down to the populate with copies and populate with copies, and that places those there. Now, the other videos I've said about placement, we can actually place a placement on here, and we can do that with this. We'll get to that in a minute, but that's how you add those two there. If we change this sketch and add, say, another line or another couple of lines and hit the right mouse pointer or hit escape and say move this one over here, then these will be updated with those elements added and new placements. Look at the populated copies. Obviously we don't need this cylinder, so we can press the space bar because that's just the base object that we're populating in there. We can do arrays as well, so if we had letters and we want to place them across here, so we had a word and we want to distribute it across here, we can use a different placement method. I showed that in other videos. Let's have a look at something else with this. So let's have a look at an application. So I'm going to start again and get rid of all these. Come over to the sketcher. And I'm going to create a surface. So I'm looking at the top, I'll create a sketch. We'll place it along the XY plane. And we'll create some kind of surface. So let's just go for an arced surface. So something like this. And we'll add another arc in here. Don't have to be the same. This is just for demonstration purposes, and we'll close this up. So let's say we had this as a surface. Now, did that close? I believe it did. Let's hit escape and just tweak that a bit. Yeah, that's all closed. Hit close, so we've got a sketch. And we're running out of battery. So we've got the sketch there, and we'll come over to the part and extrude that sketch. Now I'm going to extrude it along the Z axis. We're going to go about 40 millimeters, and we've got our surface. I want to place holes tangent to this surface. So what do? Well, we can create that placement sketch. So let's come over to the sketcher. Select this face, let's come in a bit, select that face and create a sketch upon that face, flat face on there, okay. And I can start creating lines. I don't want to connect the lines up to this center point. So I'm going to bring in some geometry first, and we see the center point there. If I do create lines attached to that center point, and I've brought in the wrong geometry, so I don't want this geometry here. Let's delete that and bring in the other geometry on the other side. So this one here. If I attach line to that center point there, then we're going to get into a bit of an issue, because if I place those like this, and we'll create just one line that's not connected to that, like so, hit escape. Hit close. Then we'll do the same with the placement. Come over to the Lattice2 and we select that sketch, come up to Lattice2 and we'll drop down to attach placement. Yeah, it's lattice placement and copy object placement, and we run through the same process, so making sure that's selected, coming down and direct child only. See this changes to 2, this is because these two are connected. And orientation mode, child edge, and translation mode, child vertex. then you can see we only got 2 there. We can see how we can place a hole in there. So come back to the sketch, then we got to break that connection there. Just hit delete. It's broken that connection. And we can move these away from that point, like so, and hit close. So we've got those 3 there. We can place angles between here, so we can use angle constraints. We can also use such constraints as construction mode, construction geometry. So if I do want to connect these to that point, I can place, say, a line in here, connect that up, and make that construction, and take this line and this line and make them parallel to each other like that. And we do the same, say here, hit escape, these 2, make them parallel, make this one construction. Then we've got a nice connection there. So if I hit close, you can see we've still got those 3, and it's allowed for that in our placement. Let's just quickly do the other one. Again, placing a line. Auto constraints are on, so when I roll over there, the actual constraints takes place. Right mouse or escape to get your mouse pointer back. Take these 2, make them parallel, and then take this one, create its construction, and we'll place an angle between these 2. Come over and place an angle there of 30 degrees. So we've got that angle there. Matter of fact, I'm going to place that angle on the construction geometry to keep it all nice and clean. So you can see we've got those placements going across there, and they're evenly placed. So now we've got those placements along there. We can move that sketch, so let's move it this way. Our extrude, if we look at extrude, is come down to the data, length forward is 40 millimeters. So we use this sketch and come into the attachment and the position, and what way are we around? We're around this way. So our position along the Z, so Z is running this way. I'm going to go minus 20 because that'll move it into the center there. There we go. So we've got those in the center there. So I'm going to place a cylinder along these. So I want to take holes out of these, and those holes are going to be tangent. If I try to place, say, a hole this way without having these at an angle, then we'll get a hole that just doesn't look right. It looks like it's just been drilled through on a straight angle. So we'll add a cylinder over in the part. Click on cylinder. We can see our cylinder has been added, but we need a bit bigger. So how big should we have our hole? Let's go for 5 millimeter. And the height just needs to be the height of this. So I'm not sure what the height of this is. Let's go for about 20 mil. We can change this later. We now need to add a placement because I want to place this in the same position as these kites. So let's come over to the Lattice2 and add a placement. So we'll come into the Lattice2. Got nothing selected at the moment. Come down to attach placement and attach placement. That's been placed there. I know it looks like it's attached to the cylinder. It's not, because we've got select in here. Nothing being selected. Select this top circle and we'll place it concentric. So at the moment it's concentric. And let's work through these, see if we get a better fit. And I think concentric is going to be our best fit, or internal CS. So that's sitting in the middle. We need to rotate this kite because if this kite was going for kite, we can see it will just be placed like this. So we need to do some adjustments. So come down to the bottom and we can start rotating this. So we'll rotate this around the Y. So we'll come down to the Y axis and we'll have a look at that, just experiment with that to make sure. That's actually in the Z direction. I've missed that. I just moved off of that. So let's zero that back out and come into the Y. It's because I was using the mouse wheel and I accidentally moved my mouse. So we'll change that to 90 degrees. It's popping out the top at the moment, so we need this more in the middle, so we know by accident that the Z will do this, so we can change this. Don't need to put it all the way through, we'll just put it part of the way through. And that's hit OK. So now we've got our cylinder with the kite there and our kites. I'm going to hide, no, I'm not going to hide this actually, we can select it from the left hand side. So we've got to place this cylinder at each of these kite positions. We'll Lattice2. So to do that, we need to first select our object, which is the cylinder, its placement, and then the placement of sketch, so where it's going to, in that order. Go up to Lattice2, and then we want to populate with copies, but we want this moved object. Click on that. That places those around there in the correct orientation. So we've got those now. I now need to convert these two to an object that allows for Boolean operations, so a cut, a union, etc. I'm going to err on the side of safety and go save as. And we'll add lattice placement cut. Just call it project. So to actually cut this away from this object, it needs to be a compound object. We can convert it to a compound object from our parametric. Basically, these are like parametric draft tools. Sometimes this will work without using the object. So let's check that first. So we've got this moved cylinder here. We come over to the part and we can click this one and control click the other. We can see the cut is available. So we've got that cut option there. If we can't cut, we can use the leaf downgrade. So I'm just going to use the cut with this one and see what happens. Let's get the selection around the right way first. So click the one that I want to keep and control click the one I want to remove. And use the cut, we can see we get the holes going across there. That wasn't big enough, so let's change the height of this to 30 mil. Hit enter. Still hasn't come out the other side, so let's have a look at our extrude. There, we want the move cylinder actually, so this is our cylinder. And we've got the extrude there, we've got the placements, we've got this move cylinder. Let's press the space bar. So what I need to do is actually move its placement forward a bit. So I can double click that placement and everything's disappeared, which is not helpful. So click on the move cylinder and press the space bar. That might have changed cylinder edge 1, so we're fine there. So you have to be careful sometimes. If this is showing a selecting, if I went back into the model and clicked on that, then it would actually pick the move cylinder, which we don't want it to actually do. You would have to go in and reselect this edge, but we're okay here. Let's come back down to in the Z direction and let's increase this, so something like that, and hit OK. Control R or refresh, we can see those have moved back. We go out to edit refresh if you don't want to use Control R, so Control R there. So now when we actually hide all of these, so let's hide the move cylinder and hide, we don't need the cylinder anymore. The placement we don't need, press the spacebar on that, and that placement we don't need. Also we don't need this sketch, but we can see that sketch, how those holes have been driven through those tangent to that surface at the right angle. So we've got that there. Really, really useful tool. I'm finding this very useful lately. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it's useful, and I hope to see you again soon. If you like what you're seeing, please subscribe to the site. I also have a Ko-Fi or a coffee site that you can donate to if you so desire, and that's at ko-fi.com/MANG0. I also run a Patreon where you can subscribe and get extra content, and that's at www.patreon.com/MangoJellySolutions. Any money that's kindly donated will be used to expand the channel. Thanks a lot for watching and subscribing, and I'll see you again soon.